Welcome in again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the R&D Sports Report. My name's Dishmond, and I'm joined here, as always, by Rylee. Rylee, how you doing this evening?
Pretty good.
All right, so we had just one episode this week. Some scheduling conflicts just kind of led us to being able to only produce one this week. But as it looks for next week, it's looking better to have two episodes next week, so be sure to tune in, and apologies for not having one early in this week, but as I said, it just didn't quite work out to be able to have two this week, and we were able to get one, so they say that absence makes the heart grow fonder, so hopefully our absence from your life this one time this week, make your heart grow fonder for us, and while it does, just go on over to iTunes and go ahead and rate and review the podcast. 5 stars, of course, because you are so fond of us. And go ahead and write us a review there. And then while you're at it, you can also go to Facebook and Twitter and let us know how much your heart has grown fond of us on Twitter at R&D Sports Report. Facebook is the same thing. You can just go facebook.com/RD Sports Report. So, you can just let us know that way. And we're also looking at maybe expanding a little bit and getting into some interviews here and there. And so if you have any suggestions of people you'd like for us to try to get on, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook. But there's quite a bit to talk about, especially NBA-wise, and that's probably where we will stay for the majority of this, with the playoffs around the corner and the awards that are out there, kind of, and some thoughts on the regular season awards, such as MVP, Rookie of the Year, things like that. That we will also get into, along with looking at the first round and kind of predicting how many games in the series it'll go and who will win the series. But before we get into that, we have to get into something that we were both looking forward to.
Definitely. And
something that happened on Sunday evening.
Yes.
And what would that be, Rylee?
WrestleMania.
And to be extremely specific, WrestleMania 34.
Well, I wanted to say the number, but I couldn't remember because my mind's just jacked up. But I was about to say 35. I don't know why. Well, don't ask.
It works just saying WrestleMania because it's still not incorrect. So
true.
But Sunday was a fun-filled day for us. We watched what did we watch? WrestleMania 19 first. That was in Seattle. Had Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, and other matches as well, obviously. But we started our Sunday afternoon by watching that, and then we timed it out just right because as soon as that ended, right, we just went right into WrestleMania 34, and it was funny to go back to something like WrestleMania 19. And watch it and see a much younger Kurt Angle, a much younger Brock Lesnar, obviously. I mean,
Yeah, no kidding. That was 15 years back.
I was going to say, 15 years difference between the two of them. And, it just, there's just so much that had changed between them. Let's see, I'm trying to think. There wasn't even a John Cena match in that one, though, was there?
No,
there was not. I don't think he was on yet.
I think he came in probably about maybe a year later.
That was 2003, and that's about the time he came in. I can't remember exactly when he officially debuted, but he just might not have been on that card because he wasn't big enough yet.
Right.
But, that's what's crazy is, you think of that WrestleMania didn't have John Cena on it. And, fast forward now and
He's been on it for like the past.
I was gonna say he's been on it even when he was injured, right? He came and just made a pop appearance, pretty much. But he's turned into a much larger superstar. The Rock was wrestling Stone Cold then, and that was a kind of officially Stone Cold's last match that we got to watch,
which was totally insane, by the way.
But not to go too much onto WrestleMania 19, but just giving you an idea of what we did watch. It was just funny though, because you watch that and then you go into WrestleMania 34 and you see Kurt Angle, works a lot different. But I mean, and you and I both noticed like the work that Brock Lesnar does.
Oh yeah,
it's 10 times different. It's not what he that one he tries to do a flip off the top rope in WrestleMania 19, and he does what they call a shooting star press, and like he kind of fails at it because he lands on his face. But you would never see Brock Lesnar do that now.
Oh yeah,
and the move variety like that he used to do compared to what he does now, a lot different as well.
Oh, totally.
So, but enough about WrestleMania.
Let's go. Let's 19. Fast forward.
Let's get to the one we just watched on Sunday, and actually,
I got the card here.
The card for WrestleMania 34.
Yep. Well, of course, the first one that pops up is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Throwing that out there, crap match. Just awful. I'm sorry. It was not a main event. You can look on Twitter. It was just so awful.
I think it was only a main event just because of the names involved, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. The match wasn't great. But you say that match wasn't great. Even that AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, like,
it was decent. It was better than Brock.
I wasn't super impressed, and that's probably because I had my hopes so high for it.
Right.
But I just wasn't impressed with it. Like,
I can agree.
I was more impressed with it, obviously, than the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match. But the thing I was impressed with the most on that card was Ronda Rousey.
Yep, I was just about to say that.
And I was pleasantly surprised there with her working ability. You had seen a couple times she had tried doing moves leading into WrestleMania, and I just wasn't sure, how she would be able to translate from UFC to WWE, because Brock Lesnar went, he had amateur wrestling, and then he went to WWE, and then UFC, and then back. So like he had the experience, but she came, out of UFC. And having never worked in WWE before. But, how amazing is it to have your first match at WrestleMania, right? The thing they call the grandest show of them all, the Showcase of the Immortals, obviously their biggest event that they do all year round, the thing they pour the most effort into, because that set was killer.
Yeah, I was about to say that set was something that hasn't been done.
But it's got to be amazing, right? To have your first match at WrestleMania.
Well, that also goes down in history books. I mean, I don't really think that WWE has history books, but I mean, still, you're gonna remember 34 as Ronda Rousey's first match.
They have history books to an extent.
Yeah, but right. I'm just saying, like, say a father and son. Hey, I remember WrestleMania 34 when Ronda had her first match at WrestleMania, which is a huge privilege and a huge honor. So I'm sure she was very excited.
And might I also say that she is now undefeated at WrestleMania, right?
Oh, could be a girl Undertaker now.
Well, honestly, like they could build. The Undertaker went 21 years or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it was
20 years, whatever it was.
See, I believe CM Punk was his last one until he lost his streak to
To Brock.
Yeah, as I said,
But you know, it just, I was impressed with her working ability, and not only, like, she picked Triple H up. You know, Triple H is not a small dude.
No.
And, you know, she picks him up, and she holds his weight. Like, I don't care if she had assistants getting him up there. She still held his weight on her shoulders for a really, you know, long amount of time before she ever did anything with him. But, you know, I was impressed with her work, and I'll be honest, like, I was kind of impressed with Stephanie McMahon's work as well.
Yeah.
In the sense, like, you'd kind of seen her here and there, but you hadn't really seen her in the ring for a while, working like that. You know, granted, not the best worker.
No.
You know, you're not going to always call on her like you can call on Triple H. But
speaking of Triple H, he was looking pretty good this year, as always.
And he just seems not to age.
No.
But at the same time, like, if you ever keep up with him, like, the dude's just always working out. I swear that's all he ever does. And we know it's not, but
I will say the entrances at WrestleMania are always just stellar. So seeing Triple H ride on those motorcycles was definitely awesome for me.
Him and Stephanie on those trikes, and I think they had some other motorcycles there in the like line that they had. That was awesome. You know, that's why I love WrestleMania. It's just such a fun time, like, because they go all out. You know, having that Mardi Gras mask that would change, and it was, you know, an LED screen, and would change into being the Videotron for the superstars. Like, it's amazing what they can do.
Oh yeah.
You know, really, the one time a year we get pyro now, so also great.
For real.
You know, you have somebody like Brock Lesnar's entrance, and, like, for me, I remember his entrance, you know, when he would slap those arms down on the ramp, you know, the fireworks going off, then when he'd jump up, that's what I always remember his entrance by. So now to see it's weird to see all that, you know, not happen, because he does the entrance the same way without pyro.
Right, it's like an error. Like, you feel like they messed up on something.
Somebody forget to push the button on the pyro.
Bruh.
No? Okay. But it's the one time a year where the older superstars like that I remember that you don't really remember when they, you know, had that so much, that, you know, it's just, it brings back old memories, because it's something that I'm used to seeing. So, but, you know, the Asuka's winless streak goes out. Charlotte beats her. You know, Nia Jax is able to win the women's title, which congratulations to her for doing. You know, other stuff happens, not to really get into detail with it, because that would just kind of be more for another podcast if we were, you know, doing a different one. But I do want to get into the biggest story of the night, and I think that's 10-year-old Nicholas.
Yes. Praise Nicholas, dude. Such a legend.
So if you all don't know the deal with Nicholas, he ended up being in a tag team match against Cesaro and Sheamus, who were the champions, and they were going against Nicholas and his partner, Braun Strowman, who is he's billed at 6'8", 385, a beast of a man, a guy who used to compete in strongman competitions, and he goes into the match needing a partner. He says he's going to pick it out from the crowd, and he picks this 10-year-old boy, super long hair, and I think the thing that made it the most is Nicholas. He looked petrified.
Oh, he was so scared, dude. He didn't know what to do.
You know, not only that, like, he looked petrified, but, I mean, I would probably have been petrified with, you know, what was it, like 75,000 people there or whatever it was?
Not only that, but when you're standing next to a beast, I mean...
Well, and you're on a ring apron that you're not used to being on. It's not exactly a lot of room.
No.
and he's kind of standing there. But I did hear, obviously, and cover your ears if you don't want to hear this, but apparently, obviously, he kind of was a plant for them.
Oh, are you serious?
But he was apparently the referee's son, from what I've heard around.
Really?
So the referee in that match, that was his son that was involved.
Wow.
In Nicholas. Obviously, you kind of figured it was a plant.
Right.
If you knew anything about, them putting plants in the crowds. Just because you would think they wouldn't really put somebody in danger like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
That wasn't a plant. But, best part of the match comes in, and Braun's just, he's struggling to get to the ropes. He tags Nicholas in. Nicholas comes in. By the way, he makes an illegal tag because he didn't hold on to the little rope there for the tag to make the tag. So, illegal tag, but beside the point.
Dang it, Nicholas.
He comes in, and... I think it's Cesaro standing there, and quickly you see just this fear on his face, and
he doesn't know what to do.
Like, that almost has to be genuine fear, because I don't think you can act it as well as his face.
No.
Said, holy crap, I'm actually in the ring, I'm scared now, and then he quickly tags in Braun Strowman, and, to make a long story short now, they win the titles. The best part is they play it up the next night on Monday Night Raw, and say that they have to relinquish the titles because Nicholas has some scheduling conflicts. School.
Again, another reason why school is dumb.
His math, his PE's in the way, his English classes, causing scheduling conflicts, so they have to relinquish the titles. But he said when he's done with school... somebody's going to get these hands, right? Braun Strowman's catchphrase, which was great. And I thought the use of Nicholas was just
amazing.
A+.
Oh,
A+. Like
totally.
that honestly, I think just stole the night. And obviously you saw with Twitter, it just blew up, Twitter especially.
Now, if I may add, for being a beast of a man, Braun Strowman seems really kid-friendly. Like, babysitter-friendly, and it's kind of scary.
It is, because, like, could you imagine him coming up to your door as a babysitter and ringing the doorbell and be like, "Hi, I'm the babysitter."
It's like, oh, no.
Like, in his music, he goes, "Rah!" Like, just, like, you ring the doorbell and all of a sudden you just hear, "Rah! I'm the babysitter. Somebody's gonna get these hands.
Mama, please take me with you."
like, hey, I think your kid would behave.
No kid, but sit down real quick.
Like that is he does seem really kid friendly, and let's be like, most of the superstars now, because of the work they do with like Make-A-Wish and all that, which I think is great, they're around kids a lot more. I know ones like Brock Lesnar, they're just not friendly to really anybody at all.
No.
But I think it also comes with some more of the territory now. They're so wide open social media wise. It's hard not to be kid friendly, and like I know there's probably still some who don't care a whole lot for kids, but at least they can put on a good face. When they have kids around them. But I would agree with you. Braun he seems really friendly. Outside of the ring, obviously, I would not want to be in the ring with him unless I am Nicholas and his tag team partner.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
he's like a personal bodyguard.
But, overall, like, I was satisfied with it. I went in, I think, with my expectations a little higher because looking at the card lineup, I thought, man, this could be like an all-time great Wrestlemania.
Oh, yeah.
But it was pretty good. The problem I had, I also felt like it was too long.
Yeah.
Starting at 5 o'clock Eastern time, going to midnight, like, that's 7 hours.
Gosh, dude.
And for the majority of those 7 hours, you and I were sitting there watching it the entire time.
Pretty much. I just can't imagine sitting for 7 hours, dude. Like,
well, and like to be in that, especially if you were there watching, like, especially if I'm paying for a front row seat, like, how am I not gonna sit there for 7 hours?
Right, but people like up in like the nosebleeds, like.
Yeah, if I was up in the nosebleeds, I'd be like, this match, I'm gonna go pee. Right?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna go grab some popcorn.
Get a soda.
Yeah, no kidding.
But if I'm front row, I'm going. I gotta go really bad, but I ain't leaving. Like
right.
It's WrestleMania, man. And it just seems too long. And I get it. It's their spectacle of the year. No other show is going to be 7 hours. But you do a 2-hour pre-show and your show officially starts at 7. You can go to midnight. Like it was just a little too long for me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Compared to their normal 3-hour pay-per-views, it's a lot different.
3 hours is fine because especially if you got food or whatever, you're eating for most part of it or talking or whatever. And I just think that 7 hours. If anybody sat there for 7 hours on your couch, chair, whatever you were sitting on, even if you were there, bless your heart. I am so sorry for you. You had to sit for 7 hours. That's awful.
You almost had to be severely dehydrated or have an iron bladder because just to be able to sit there for 7 hours and not have to get up and go to the bathroom. Now maybe you ran to it as soon as it was over, but still that just is mind-boggling to me. But
yeah, not only that, but you're tired and all that, so it's tired from walking and doing stuff outside of the arena, and it's just so much.
One thing we didn't get into, and I don't know how we missed this earlier, but Daniel Bryan's return to the ring.
Yes.
Dude looked better than I've ever seen him in a ring.
He seems to improved.
He's improved. He's cleaned things up a little bit, but he's kind of changed them, and I think it helps the look of it. Having those concussion issues and being able to come back. Now almost has somewhat of a different wrestler, but he still has that same style. He still does the same stuff. So congratulations to him. Now apparently he's going back into being a superstar instead of as they had him as the GM of SmackDown. And, that's now filled by Paige, who had to retire because of a bum neck. And you got to feel bad for, career's only 4 years old, and your neck just can't hold up. Same thing happened to Edge. That neck just couldn't hold up, and you feel bad for him. But at least, for both, they've had an opportunity to be able to do other things than just keep going to the what ifs. But
right, you know how you were talking about Daniel Bryan's style, right?
Yes.
Get it, AJ Styles, because he recently just faced him.
Oh my goodness!
I'm sorry. You said style, and all I could think about was AJ and him fighting on Monday.
That would be we should just end this right now with that joke. But
love y'all.
But we're not going to because there's still quite a bit to talk about.
No kidding.
And any final thoughts here on WrestleMania before we move to our NBA talk?
7 out of 10. They did better than I thought they would.
I'd give them
7 or an 8 at least.
I'd give them maybe 7.5, 8. Yeah. But I thought it could have been better, and the length kind of hurt them, in my opinion. But overall, pretty good show. Their NXT takeover was really good. You could almost say it was better than WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was shorter, so the quality of the matches are raised there. But also really good. And, any of those you can go back and watch on the WWE Network if you have them. But let's now kind of transition and move on. I know it's not the easiest thing to do to go from WrestleMania to the NBA awards, the season-ending awards, and let's run through those first, and then we'll get into the playoffs.
So, first off, you got Defensive Man of the Year. Let's start with that.
How are you going to start with Defensive Man of the Year?
Because, it's the most, unrecognized reward.
No, that's Coach of the Year.
Okay,
so you got to start with MVP.
Okay, so I can't remember who they had for Coach of the Year.
No. Like how you gonna start at Coach of the Year? You gotta start at MVP. You gotta start off with the
but you
best.
gotta start from least to greatest, so it builds up the tension.
No, come on.
Okay.
Nobody cares about the coach. I mean, we can start Coach of the Year, but
All right. Well, do you know the candidates for the MVP?
well, I mean, these aren't
Like, the closest is what I should say. Like, it's not like a presidential election. But
well, I was gonna say these aren't like official like NBA released, but these are what I'm looking at is from Zach Lowe on ESPN. So what he's compiled together.
Well, all I can say is I was looking on ESPN and Sports Center and going over, and I saw the they had like a banner up, and it was LeBron, Damian Lillard, who else was it? James Harden and Anthony Davis for MVP. Stat-wise, I don't know. I had to look here in just a second, but I would love for LeBron to win.
He's not going to.
Who you think it's going to be?
James Harden.
Look, y'all already know I don't care for the beard. I really just don't. I can't really provide you a reason. I feel like he's too cocky, but also Russ is too. But I just don't care for him.
I mean, but in that same sense, LeBron is cocky as well.
Right, all of them are cocky. I'm just saying I just don't care for the beard much. I don't know what it is. I just don't like him. I'm sorry for all those Rocket fans out there. But stat-wise, it's pretty much all around. Like, they're pretty close, all of them together. LeBron has 27.5 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 9 assists per game. And then if you go to, like, Anthony Davis, right? He has more points and more rebounds, but less assists, of course, because I believe he's a center. Is that right, or is he a power forward?
They usually play him power forward.
Okay, so power forward. But let's compare like James Harden and Damian. So you got 30.4 points per game for James Harden, 5 rebounds per game, and then you got 8.8 assists per game. So you look at Damian, he's got less points, 26.9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists per game. So if I go back, Damian Lillard has less rebounds and less assists than James Harden and less points. So I feel Damian Lillard, he's done really good this year, and I love Damian, but I don't really think he is going to be close to winning this. So, you got anything you'd like to say about any of this MVP stuff that's going on?
I mean, I think a lot of it also you have to have some consideration for how the team's playing. I don't think it should necessarily be the best player on the best team, but for the most part, that seems to be how it ends up. You have the list here I'm looking at for Zach Lowe. The way he ranks it is Harden, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Giannis, and then Damian Lillard. But I think Harden deserves it because I think he should have had it last year, but Russ, setting the all-time triple-double record, like, you almost can't go against it. But at the same time, I think he meant more to his team last year than he does so much this year.
Oh, yeah, I would totally agree.
LeBron obviously means everything to the Cavs. The Cavs are outscoring opponents by 6 points per 100 possessions when LeBron is on the floor. The biggest problem is, LeBron, yes, has played all 82 games this year. But it's just hard to go against Harden when you think, Chris Paul hasn't been there all season with him. and at the same time, I think it also helps Harden overall because he has a better supporting cast around him than LeBron does. And I think some of LeBron's won it before, and I kind of think that hurts him. Now, it is impressive in your 15th season to have arguably your best season, and the only season he's played all 82 games.
Which, congratulations to LeBron. He's done really well this year.
But, I don't think you can argue too much against the Beard because I think you have to also take the team into consideration. The Cavs are 4th in the East. The Rockets are number 1 in the West, number 1 overall, I believe, actually, also. Look, so, they make it to the finals. They have home court throughout. You see Harden being able to kind of lift up the Rockets. They kind of fell in a tiny funk, but then to be able to help push them. Even LeBron, as much as he's been doing, can't seem to get the Cavs quite out of the funk that they had fallen in early in the season, and even after the trade deadline and all that, that little funk they fell into. But I think it's James Harden's to win, and I think that's who will end up winning it. A guy like Anthony Davis, I think, should get more consideration for it. Because if you look what he's done, especially recently, he's done more than James Harden. But this isn't just a last 2 months of the season award. This is an entire year award, and overall Harden had the better year. Anthony Davis started off the year, obviously, with DeMarcus there next to him, but then has now, in the last couple months, put the Pelicans on his back to make sure they get into the playoffs, where they're able to make it in as the 6th seed. They're not even just skating in as the 8. They were able to actually make it in as the 6. So I think he should get some consideration. Giannis was on this. I'm sorry, I just don't think the Bucks have had a good enough season to really be considered.
No.
Damian Lillard, yes, I think is underrated.
I can't. Someone said that. I can't remember who it was. I think someone commented.
LeBron has said before.
It might have been Stephen A. Smith. I'm not too sure.
About Damian Lillard is underrated. But I don't really see how you can quite argue fully against the Beard to not win it. Really over LeBron, because it is an individual award.
But the way they
but also you have to have team success. I'm trying to think of an example at the top of my right off the top of the bat of another thing, but let's just take Tom Brady for instance, right? Plays on the Patriots. If the Patriots only win, actually, you know what? Let's shake it up. Put Tom Brady on the Browns, right? Tom Brady has his normal numbers that he had at New England, okay? He has all those numbers that he had, but the Browns win 3 games all year. Is he still in consideration for MVP? Or do you kind of kick him out because you also have to have some success in winning games, because then it's just about your stats. Then it seems.
Look, the NBA, I feel, doesn't do it completely right, nor does it really stick to what it says. You were talking about how you need to have at least some team, success. I kind of hate that, but at the same time, I can understand where they're coming from. And don't get me wrong, I think the Beard is such a great player. He's awesome. I liked him a little bit when I was a little bit younger and I started watching him. But I'm I'm just not a huge fan of him. I think he's a great player. I think he deserves the MVP. I know Russ got it last year, but I think this year he really does deserve it.
Well, and almost kind of funny you mentioned Russ there. He averaged a triple-double this season again. First guy to, do it in back-to-back seasons. But, here he's not even in consideration top 5. That's how it tells you almost how much the game is not necessarily changed, but like the story, I guess, of this year has changed.
Look, I'm right there with you. I think, I think since there's 2 superstars on Russ's team now, they don't really look at him as much as they did a year ago. Granted, he broke the triple-double record last night, which it was a triple-double record, but I can't remember specifically.
He's the first player to ever average a triple-double in back-to-back seasons.
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you.
Which, by the way, I just said a minute ago. If you would have,
Look, man, I was listening. I was just bringing it back up, and I couldn't get the specifics. Okay, so chill. Look, I think Harden deserves it. He's a great player. With Chris being out, I feel like they have looked at him a little bit more to carry the Rockets. Granted, the Rockets aren't terrible, but I'm just saying, without Chris, he's kind of like their only option right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like their number one option right now. Like that's all they got right now.
Well, and Chris. I think it's just James Harden's year to win it. Zach Lowe says here in his article, it's hard to reward an alpha player, which is LeBron, whose team is the 4th seed entering Wednesday in what he called the Junior Varsity Conference, being the East. The Cavs season almost went downhill completely right before the trade deadline, before they made all those trades and swaps and this and that. I think other than James Harden and LeBron, Anthony Davis does have the best chance, I would say, at it. The Pelicans have been riddled with injuries throughout the season, and he's just put them on his back. Giannis is just kind of faded. And once again, team winning enough, right? I think that does have to have a significant impact on it. Because as we were just talking, you're not going to pick Tom Brady on the Browns, even if he has all his unworldly stats that he would have with the Patriots on the Browns, because the Browns only won 2 games with him, so it's hard because, if you look at what it says, most valuable player, if you're going who means the most to their team, right, you almost then have to go with Anthony Davis because of what he means to the Pelicans. But right there with him, right, is obviously LeBron, because this rendition of the Cavs wouldn't be here without having LeBron, the alpha dog, with this team. The Rockets could be able to probably succeed more than the Pelicans or the Cavs without Harden, because they do have Chris Paul there and they have a stronger kind of supporting cast. But at the same time, the way it goes is usually the best player on the best team or one of the better teams. And so that the way the voting goes, it's going to be James Harden, and I don't think you can really argue against it.
No.
Strong enough to say why he shouldn't at all get it. But
look, if Anthony Davis doesn't get the MVP, and I bet a lot of money that he probably won't, I think he should win the reward for defensive player. I how can you argue? First of all, like you were talking about earlier, he's kind of carried the Pelicans on his back lately. Not only that, he's Anthony Davis. Probably one top 5 right now in the NBA for defensive. Like, how can you argue? It's AD.
Well,
Joel,
but here's the thing. Here's kind of the argument is that when the Pelicans they've allowed 1.12 points per possession more if Anthony Davis switches on the pick and roll, right? Which is worse than the league average. And if you go with the other two people that Zach Lowe has here, and Rudy Gobert and Joel Embiid, right, their rankings are better than Davis when they switch on the pick and roll. I think what hurts Anthony Davis is, in this sense, and I could, understand what you're saying. Anthony Davis is a freak to be able to switch off and guard on the perimeter to block the shots. He stays down more now and then jumps at the right time. But what hurts him is his offensive load. What he's required to almost do for the Pelicans offensively because he is carrying them.
Well, and I feel like they're trying to make him into like a Dirk or Kevin Love. It's shit like you gotta give him at least 1 or 2 more years before he gets to that point.
I don't.
I mean, he's good offensively,
but
he's not crazy.
I think he's better than we realize offensively. The man can shoot the threes. He can run the floor. Like, it's there. It's this team around him that is more his issue than anything. Especially with not having DeMarcus Cousins in there with him, teams can kind of focus in more on AD. Realizing that Drew Holiday is a good player, but not necessarily a great player. Rondo's at the back end of his career. There's not as strong of a supporting cast for Davis, and when he's getting back on defense, it's sometimes a little lackluster. You don't see him running as hard. My assumption is that Rudy Gobert, I agree with Zach Lowe here, that he will win. Now, this is probably one of the closer ones, just depending on how you would judge it. But, I think that the Jazz are actually one of the toughest defensive teams in the league.
Oh.
And so, statistically even. So, to have your best defender, once again, on the best defensive team, seems like the person who would win that. He's also got to make an impact. But, if Embiid or Rudy Gobert would win, they've played 63 for Joel Embiid and 56 for Rudy Gobert games this year. They, would have logged the fewest games in a non-lockout year to be able to win that award. So, it just it's hard to say. Like, do I think Anthony Davis should probably win it? Yeah, I could see where Rudy Gobert or Joel Embiid would also win it, but sometimes it goes beyond the numbers. Even it just.
Look, I'm not hating on Anthony. Don't think I was earlier. I love Anthony. When he first came in the league, I wasn't really sure of him, but I love his gameplay. I love the way he plays. I love the brow. I'm just throwing that out there. The brow is awesome. But I feel like this is an actual award that I'm willing to watch and to see how they do it. I feel like all of them are well-rounded. When you were talking about games earlier, like 62 games and 56 games, or 63, sorry. Are you saying like that should be based off how many games you play, or?
No, that's how many games they played this season.
Well, I was just trying to get your in
an 82-game season.
I didn't know if that was like your opinion of if they played more games that they should get a better, request for the reward.
If Embiid or Gobert would win, they would have logged the fewest games of someone to win that award in a non-lockout season. Kawhi Leonard did it 3 seasons ago by only playing 64 games.
My bad. Yeah, I guess I just read your context wrong. It should be an interesting race to see who gets the reward. I'm actually kind of excited to see who wins, whether I hate it or not. I love all of them. Joel, Anthony, Gobert. Who else? Wasn't there another one? Who
just had the 3 of them on there.
Oh, I thought there was 4. But it should be a good race. I'm hoping AD wins it, but I think Gobert will. So
I mean, if you're talking of Anthony Davis, averaging 2.6 blocks per game, 1.5 steals per game, it just, those are, when you're saying over, the 75 games he played this season, mind you, he played 75 games. So, you have Joel Embiid only playing 63. Obviously, if we do easy, simple math, that's 12 less games that Embiid played. So his stats might be a little bit better overall. But, how can you argue against somebody who also played 12 more games, And right, you can see his presence there, but you can also see it, with Joel Embiid switching off and guarding. But of all of them, other than Rookie of the Year, I think that's probably the closest race. MVP may end up looking like it's close, but it's obviously James Harden to win.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't James.
I would be as well. It would definitely flabbergast me, to use a different word there. But as I mentioned, Rookie of the Year. This is a hotly contested award. It appears that there's a 2-horse race for it, but if you throw a third one in, it's Jason Tatum. So Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum are obviously the breakaway 3, with the breakaway 2 of those 3 being Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell, kind of who. And they've poked fun going back, and so I say fun. I don't really necessarily think it's fun because obviously they both want to win. Donovan Mitchell showed up with shirts with a description of what a rookie is. I saw earlier he had a hoodie on that said "rookie" with a question mark. Obviously playing into Ben Simmons. This overall technically being his second year in the league, but because he was drafted in 2016, so he had last season, but he didn't play a single game last season. So therefore, his rookie season, his first season playing in the NBA, is this season. That's how he is a rookie. Even though he was drafted a year ahead of Donovan Mitchell, it's just the way it is sometimes. I'm trying to think, because I think Anthony Davis also ran in. It was Anthony Davis or John Wall, I forget. Pretty sure it's one of the two of them, but that's what they ran into with their Rookie of the Year. Somebody had gotten hurt the year before and actually beat them out for Rookie of the Year because it was more of their second year, but they were technically a rookie. So, all of that to say, Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell, been going back and forth about who should be Rookie of the Year. Obviously, both want to win. Ben Simmons thinks he's worthy of it. Donovan Mitchell thinks he's worthy of it. So, what are your thoughts here on the Rookie of the Year?
It's kind of exciting for me to see all this go down. It's like high school drama. You love seeing it go down and seeing how it ends. The way they're going back and forth. First off, Donovan Mitchell, showing up with his hoodies is kind of hilarious. And then you have what did Ben Simmons do? I can't remember. Didn't he do something like wear a shirt or something like that?
Ben Simmons is doing. I think he's been doing more talking about it.
Yeah.
Being like, I'm the Rookie of the Year. Clearly, because he had something. If you look at the stats, then I'm Rookie of the Year or something like that. But
right. I think both of them deserve it. I think both of them are good. I love Ben and I love Donovan. Let's not forget Jason Tatum. Granted, I don't think he's really in this race, to be honest with you. He's still good. I think that he's made an impact on the Celtics, and I think he's done really well on the Celtics. But I just don't think that he's really in that race, to be honest with you. Who do I think deserves it? Donovan. Of course, as a U of L fan, I want Donovan to win it. But it really depends on how you look at this Rookie of the Year. Like, you can look at it stat-wise. You can look at it team-wise. Me, personally, I just don't think... Like, what's the difference between a redshirt freshman and a freshman?
Technically nothing. They're both freshmen.
You get the facilities. You get the trainers.
He was also injured though.
Still, he got the playbook. He figured out how to do the plays. He figured out who his teammates were. He got to meet the teammates. He got to know them, see how they worked.
But they're also the same age.
Who?
Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons. They are both the same age. They are both 21.
Okay, so Ben got drafted a year before.
2016.
Okay, so
Donovan Mitchell stayed an extra year at U of L and got drafted in 2017.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not like you have somebody who's, Donovan Mitchell being a lot younger. They're the same age. Donovan Mitchell also played 2 less games than Ben Simmons did this year. Donovan Mitchell played 79. Ben Simmons played 81. 1 less than a perfect season after coming off an injury season.
That is true. Another thing I want to mention is the Utah Jazz. Donovan Mitchell is their only option. Besides Gobert.
No, but you also
or maybe Ricky.
But I was gonna say you also have Rubio. Like you also have Will Barron, I think. Like the problem with the Jazz, like they just don't get the attention, obviously, because they are out west. But at the same time, like they don't have a mouthpiece like a Joel Embiid talking.
I just, Ben Simmons isn't even the 76ers' number 1 option. They have Joel, Markelle Fultz. I think there's one more player I'm forgetting. But, Donovan Mitchell is the Utah Jazz only option. I don't see Ben as being the only option. Maybe for right now, just because of Joel being out. Maybe for the playoffs. But in the season, you had Joel, Markelle was usually at the end.
Well, I was going to say he was hurt, yes. But see, that's like him. This is his rookie year because he's played. Simmons didn't play any last year.
I just think that since you get the facilities, you learn how to play the game. Granted,
but
you're
come
injured.
On, you're talking facilities. U of L playing at the Yum Center. That's going to be nicer than some of these NBA arenas. Like, the amount of stuff that U of L can put in and the facilities they have, I guarantee you, for the most part, are not too far off of what these NBA teams have. So I find that argument to be invalid there. I get the argument for gelling, but at the same time, if you're injured, you're not really going to be around the team as much. You also have to, I think you're not also giving credit to Ben Simmons for coming in and playing in the NBA after missing the entire last season. Donovan Mitchell played college basketball all of the last year. Ben Simmons sat out a whole year.
What are you saying?
I'm saying a little rough. Like, for the season Ben Simmons has had, like, is impressive considering you miss an entire season. Donovan Mitchell didn't miss the season prior to coming into the NBA. He was playing in college.
But Simmons got to learn the playbook and learn how they played. Not only that, he might have been injured, but he at least practiced with them and learned the name of the game.
Yeah, it's called playing basketball.
Which is what I'm saying. He got practice for the NBA, for the 76ers, before Donnie could ever get to the Utah Jazz. He got to the Utah Jazz and is dominating right now, and has brought them up out of nothing.
He's not brought them up out of nothing. The Utah Jazz were right there on the fringe when he got there.
He just made them better.
Okay, so Ben Simmons made the 76ers better.
Well, there you go.
Ben Simmons is a power forward who can also bring the ball up, pass the ball like a Magic Johnson. No, his offensive game isn't as skilled as Donovan Mitchell's, but his defensive game is better.
It's reasonable.
This is not just an offensive award. Like, if it was, yeah, Donovan Mitchell should win it. But at the same time, like, you're kind of going on, his ability to shoot the three ball. Ben Simmons hasn't taken a three-point shot all year. Donovan Mitchell's three-point shooting percentage has gone down in this closing part of the season.
Yeah,
he hasn't exactly finished strong as the regular season goes. So, like, yeah, Ben Simmons isn't, this isn't his first year overall in the league. But at the same time, he's coming off an injury. Like, there's obviously a difference. Like, if he played one game, then, yeah, I could see if you would get upset that, he may be called a rookie. In baseball, I think you have to play a certain amount of games within a season to not be defined as a rookie the next season. But he didn't play a single game last year. The fluidity of Donovan Mitchell's game has been there the entire time. He's been able to play. He's been able to go from college into the pros. And I think for your argument as well, like, you're just not giving enough credence to both sides of the basketball.
Look, Ben is a great player. I've told you that. Even off the mic, off the air. I've told you, I love Ben Simmons, dude. I love him. But when he started taking jabs at Donovan, I wasn't really sure of him.
But you're okay with Donovan taking jabs at Ben Simmons?
Well, because, yeah, I'm a little tad biased.
A tad? Like, that's a double standard there.
Who isn't biased about their players?
Well, no, but, like, you can't say you don't like Simmons taking shots, but you like Mitchell taking shots. Like, by the definition of NBA's rookies, Ben Simmons is a rookie. He is bigger than Donovan Mitchell and can guard pretty much any player on the court.
It's because he's a small forward. Donnie's not.
But that's my point. Ben Simmons at 6'10" can guard a point guard. Donovan Mitchell can't really guard a center.
It's like Ben having more advantages, though. Is pretty much what you're saying.
But Donovan Mitchell has more advantages on offense. He's a
Not
better offensive
necessarily.
player he's a better offensive player than Ben Simmons is.
Inside, yes. Outside, not the best. Outside, I think Donnie's better. But
Well, of course he's better. Ben Simmons hasn't taken a three-point shot all year.
I'm just saying, small forward, you're supposed to be all around.
He's not small forward. He's a power forward.
Oh.
That's what you're not getting. He's a power forward.
Ben Simmons is a power forward.
Yes, he's 6'10". He's a power forward, but he brings the ball up for him, so he plays like point forward.
It's like LeBron. It's the same thing. He's supposed to be all around, well-rounded.
He hasn't been in the league as long as LeBron. LeBron couldn't shoot as well when he first came into the league. Donovan Mitchell is a point guard / shooting guard. He should be able to shoot the ball.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just saying.
But he can't envelop someone on defense like Ben Simmons can.
Oh,
yes,
I
he
totally
can guard
agree.
the guards out on the perimeter, but he can't guard the big man inside. Ben Simmons can do both.
I can agree. Donnie just doesn't have the height. If you look at Ben Simmons' stats, they're all rounded. Let me see. He has. Let me see here. Okay.
I mean, Donovan Mitchell, his 3-point percentage is below the league average.
Right.
He's now down to 34%. So,
Okay.
he's kind of fallen off with this 3-point. Now, I think that's where he's able to kind of be ahead. If he was ahead in the Rookie of the Year, is if his 3-point shooting percentage was better, because obviously that's where the league goes more.
Right. If you look at Ben Simmons and Donnie's stats for the year, Donnie has more points per game. Let's see if I can do math right. And then he's got 5-point off rebounds and assists. So Ben Simmons has 15.8 points per game. Ben Simmons has 8 rebounds per game and 8 assists per game. Now that's well-rounded. For a point guard, he's supposed to have more points, especially as new as he is. 20 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and 3.7 assists per game. Now the 3.7 goes for both rebound and assist.
But see, Ben Simmons he's not far away from averaging a triple-double on the season, man.
That's what I'm saying. He's supposed to be well-rounded.
He's got 15 points per game on the season, 8 assists per game, and 8 rebounds per game. Like, Donovan Mitchell, right, as you said, 20 points per game, 3 assists per game, 3 rebounds per game. Like, his game is just not as well-rounded overall as Ben Simmons' game is. So I think this isn't obviously just an offensive award. If it was, Donovan Mitchell should win it. But, Donovan Mitchell averages 1.5 steals per game. Ben Simmons averages 1.7. So Ben Simmons actually averages more steals per game than Donovan Mitchell does. Averages more blocks. Like, his game, Ben Simmons is just an all-around player. Yeah, he can't shoot the 3 like Donovan can. But, this just isn't an offensive award. Like, you got to give some credence all around.
That's what I'm saying. And you said I wasn't giving any credit to Ben. I'm saying he's well-rounded is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but you're also saying that Donovan Mitchell should win this.
Of course I'm going to back my guy up. Why wouldn't I? Why would I want to go against him? I'm saying, since Ben is so well-rounded, he probably will win this. He probably should win this. I'm just saying I'm backing my guy up, the guy that I like, the guy that I'm rooting for. And yeah, I am biased. Because, he came from U of L, of course I'm going to root for him. That's like having Karl Anthony Towns, right? He won last year. Would you want to root against him? No.
Right. But if there's somebody clearly with a better season, I don't see how you can argue against it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But you're trying to argue against it.
Well, of course I am. I'm trying to back my guy up. I'm trying to at least bring some facts into this. Ben Simmons is well-rounded. Well-rounded than Donovan is. I think Donnie being so new to it. Now, Ben Simmons is new. Don't get me wrong. He's still new. He's in his rookie season, blah, 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 blah. He's just not as new as Donnie. Donovan, He literally just got drafted last year, and he's had off season to practice and all that. As a point guard, you're not supposed to have 8.8 rebounds a game, nor now assists. That's reasonable. You're supposed to have an assist as a point guard, but you just gotta give him more time. You've given him 1 year. Being injured, you've given him a whole year to at least study things. I loved Donovan. Now, don't get mad at me for this, but I love Donovan's example of, say you have a whole exam, right? And you have a whole year to study it. Don't you think you're going to get a good grade on it? And I kind of laughed at that. No, I thought it was funny. Not rooting against Ben.
No, but at the same time, if you have a whole year to study, who's to say you're going to study the whole year? Like, we already know Ben Simmons obviously didn't really finish school at LSU. So who's to say that he's going to study for that exam the entire year? Like, if you get a whole year to study for an exam, are you going to take the entire year to study for the exam, or are you going to take, like, the last few months?
Well, we're talking school here. Probably not.
But that's
but
the
basketball,
example you just used.
Right. Probably not. School-wise. Basketball-wise, if I'm trying to get better, of course I'm going to study. Of course I'm going to get better at the playbook. Of course I'm going to learn the plays. Of course I'm going to learn how my teammates work. Of course I'm going to
Yeah, but you also can't learn how your teammates work until you're in the game with them. Earlier in the season, the 76ers were worse off when Embiid and Simmons were in the game together. And they were worse off when you took Embiid out of the game and you just had Simmons. Now, later in the season, as he has learned to play with his teammates, they've gotten better.
Yeah. This whole year they've gotten better. 76ers are doing great right now.
But the thing with studying for the exam, right, until you get on the court and you play with someone and you understand how they play, like, there's only so much practice you can do. You have to have it in game time. And Simmons didn't have that last year.
Right.
He just had practice, if anything.
Right.
So, it's the same, I feel, for him and, Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, he had an extra time to learn the playbook, but let's be honest. NBA teams don't run a whole lot of plays, a whole lot of set plays. That's not how the NBA is really played. It's not college where the coach calls the plays out every single time.
Right.
So, you still have to learn your teammates on the court. And, especially when you added Markelle Fultz, he adds it, so that changes the dynamic. Well, then he goes down, and, Embiid's been in and out. So, Mitchell, yeah, he's the number one kind of offensive repertoire for Utah. But he's not exclusively playing point guard either. With Ricky Rubio, he slides over to the 2. But I think if you look at this as an all around, if you had offensive rookie of the year, yeah, Donovan Mitchell wins it, and I don't think there's an argument. But if you just say rookie of the year, I think it is Ben Simmons. And yeah, I get the discrepancy between, being able to be there for an extra year, but at the same time being injured.
Right.
There's just not a lot you can do during that time because if I'm correct, I believe his was a knee injury, I think. And so, you have to rehab the leg and get it back to working. Take Joel Embiid, for instance. He's hurt. They put him on a minutes restriction. Yeah, that wasn't the same with Simmons. But it took him a little bit to find his groove in the NBA, and it seems like Simmons just clicked sooner. But let's move away from this on to Coach of the Year. Here for Zach Lowe, he has Quinn Snyder, Dwayne Casey, and Brad Stevens. So Quinn Snyder from the Jazz, Dwayne Casey from the Raptors, Brad Stevens from the Celtics. You look at it and you go, well, Dwayne Casey's got the number one team in the East. Honestly, of those three, I'd almost have to give it to Brad Stevens.
Oh, dude.
For what he's been able to do with the Celtics throughout the year. Yeah, I think you could say Mike D'Antonio of the Rockets because he has the best team, but at the same time, like, the sense there is, he's not coaching them as much, because of the players he has. I think Quinn Snyder, you could make a case being the head coach of the Jazz, being able to slip into the 5 spot of the West. But if I'm giving this one, I don't know how you don't give it to Brad Stevens.
Well, he's had to work with so many injuries and different players.
His 2 biggest players go down, and obviously Kyrie was there for a good portion of the year,
probably half or even.
But you've seen the
3/4.
Celtics be pretty successful, even this last month and a half or whatever it's been that Kyrie's been out. Gordon Hayward's been out all season.
Right? Yeah, he was out the first game.
Yeah, so he's had to change so much, and he's Marcus Smart goes down, and this he's had to redevelop his lineup and to get, as we were talking, Jason Tatum, to play, and Terry Rozier's playing great, and I don't know how you don't give it to him.
Well,
as the coach of the year,
if they're talking coach of the year for records, which I don't really care for, if you're Brad Stevens, right, and you've got 2 great superstars out, and you still manage to do well with your bench, I'm just saying it's kind of a good job, buddy. You did good, reward. But if you're going for records, who's the coach of the Rockets? What's his name?
Mike D'Antonio.
Yeah, it'd go to him. No doubt about it. But if you're talking skill-wise, Brad Stevens. So I'm glad you.
I think if you look over the overall season, I think Snyder should have probably a little bit more, because of what he's been able to do with the Jazz. But I just the job Stevens has been able to do for the Celtics this year. You just can't get past it. Yeah, for the most part, them being in the second place had a lot to do with the early season success. But at the same time, you've had players in and out all year, so I personally would give it to Brad Stevens. But a couple more left here real quick. And I have a feeling you and I will probably agree on this one. The most improved player, he, being Zach Lowe, has on this one Victor Oladipo, Steven Adams, and Andre Drummond. I think Victor Oladipo runs away with this. He's young. He's had a remarkable season for the Pacers now that he's back in Indiana. He played at IU, so to have that fan support also with him probably helps him a lot. But the leap he seems to have taken from being down at the Thunder, when he was second fiddle, obviously, to Russ. I think he's a 3rd-year guy, and just makes this ginormous leap into the NBA consciousness, so to speak. So for me, that's a pretty easy choice for most improved.
I would totally agree. I think he's gotten better stat-wise, and he's well-rounded more than he was at the Magic or the Thunder, which he never really got to play with the Thunder, but he's gotten a lot better.
All right, so last one here, 6th man of the year. He has Lou Williams, Eric Gordon, and Will Barton. I think if you took this earlier in the year, I think Lou Williams would have ran away with this. But I think Eric Gordon has made a greater case for him because Lou Williams, right, he's kind of dipped down in March and April. Obviously, like we talked with the MVP, if this was the last couple months, Anthony Davis wins it easy. It's a whole year thing, so maybe Lou Williams gets the benefit of the doubt there. But, for me, if you're going to be 6th man of the year, you have to have a strong year the entire year. And, for that drop-off, Eric Gordon seems to be rising now, too. I I don't know. I think this is a tough one. I think Lou Williams might end up getting it just because of the success he had early in the season. But do you have any thoughts here with the sixth man of the year?
I think Eric Gordon deserves it. I think he's done a lot better than he did last year. And I just think, again, like Victor, he's gotten better, well-rounded. Better, well-rounded. Or all around, sorry. I can't speak tonight. I'm so sorry.
I would agree with you. I think, he does mean a lot to the Rockets. Eric Gordon does. I just, the difference in Lou Williams and Eric Gordon, the team numbers get better when Eric Gordon's on the court. When Lou Williams is on the court, they are just a little bit better. And I think that these last couple months will actually end up hurting Lou Williams and probably end up helping Eric Gordon. The problem is I just think Lou Williams got so much praise at the beginning of the season that might bring it into the sixth man of the year and him ended up winning it. I'm with you. I would rather see Eric Gordon win it, I think, but wouldn't be completely shocked if Lou Williams won it. But last thing here, before we get off of here, just a quick look at the NBA playoff picture. You want to start East or West?
East.
All right. So in the East, the number 1 versus the number 8 is the number 1 Toronto Raptors versus the number 8 Washington Wizards. 7-game series.
Raptors.
How many games does it take?
4.
Sweep. So you say sweep then?
Yeah, 4. Well, sorry, 5. Sorry, I was doing the math wrong. My bad. 5.
All right. I like your 5. I think the Wizards might be able to steal 1. But a 4-1 victory for the Raptors. I think they're overall too strong for the Wizards. And I think there just might be too much in the way of, John Wall returning and Bradley. That combination doesn't seem to just work out because I think both want to be the superstar. And then we have the Cavs versus the Pacers. It's the 4-5 matchup.
Cavs, 6.
Oh, in 6 games.
Yeah.
That's not a bad option. I was leaning toward 5, but I like your 6. That's not a bad choice. I think I'll join you there with the 6. The next one is the 76ers Heat, the 3-6 matchup. 76ers being the 3. Now, impressive for the Sixers. That's late push in the season that they've had to be able to get the 3 spot, I think. I lean towards sweep on this one.
76ers?
Yeah. 4-0.
I would agree.
I just, I can see it going 5. The Heat being able to maybe steal one at home. But
no,
I think the Sixers, they're, what is it, like a 17-game winning streak or something like that. They seem to be hitting on all cylinders now. Then the last one in the East for the opening first round, the number 2 Boston Celtics versus the number 7 Milwaukee Bucks.
Who was the Milwaukee Bucks? Sorry, I was doing something.
They're the 7. It's the Bucks Celtics.
Bucks.
Oh, upset here.
I just don't think the Celtics have it in them. Like if they had Kyrie, I'd say Kyrie, but nah.
I want to agree. I feel like the factor of Giannis being in this game and the matchup maybe is what give the Bucks a chance at it. I feel like the Celtics are a better overall team. I'll take the Celtics in 7. How many games do you have this series going? You said the Bucks win and
6.
Yeah, I see this one going a full 7-game series though.
Yeah.
And then in the West, you have the Rockets and the Timberwolves. Poor Timberwolves, you earn a spot in the playoffs, and you draw the Rockets.
Sweep.
I agree, sweep. I just like Karl Anthony Towns, and then like they could be an issue, but
if
I think
anything, 5.
Huh?
I said if anything, 5.
I was gonna say like at most I say 5. Yes, but I just the Rockets have been so good all year. The 4-5 matchup there is the Thunder versus the Jazz.
I don't know
so you have a conflict of interest here. Obviously.
Yes, I think it's gonna be the OKC Thunder, but whoever wins or loses, I really don't care.
Thunder in how many games?
With how they're playing, I'm gonna go 5 or 6.
But you got to pick one.
6.
Jazz in 7.
Really?
Yes. The 3-6 matchup in the West is the number 3 Portland Trailblazers versus the number 6 New Orleans Pelicans.
Pelicans.
How many games?
I'm gonna go 7.
You know, not a bad choice. I was leaning Pelicans. Like, problem is you want to just pick the Trailblazers. You know, like the Celtics and the Bucks, I'm not sure that this is maybe a great matchup for the Trailblazers. You know, Rondo, although at the end of his career, is still pretty decent on defense to guard, you know, Damian Lillard, and you could also always stick like a Drew Holiday on him. I like your pick of the Pelicans in 7. I think I'm going to hang with that. And then lastly, we have the Golden State Warriors as the 2 versus the number 7 San Antonio Spurs, who, by the way, are making their 21st straight playoff appearance. And before we get into this game real quick, I saw an interesting statistic the other day of things that happened 21 years ago that we're going on the last time I guess it might have been 22 years ago, the last time that the Spurs were unable to make the postseason, and I had it pulled up here. I can do it off the top of my head for some of them. Space Jam was in theaters, and then Space Jam was in theaters. Tim Duncan was still at Wake Forest. There's 2 more I'm missing, and I can't think of them to save my life.
I know what you're talking about, and I saw it as well. I just can't remember.
Yeah, and of course now when I go to look for it, I can't find it.
It might be on SportsCenter.
That's where I looked a minute ago. Maybe I passed it over.
I'll look as well. Why not?
Well, I was gonna say they probably added quite a bit of stuff between then when I saw it. But it just like it was an interesting statistic that I saw that, you know, it's been so long since they've not been in the playoffs. You know, Tim Duncan being at Wake Forest, Space Jam being in theaters. There was a couple others, and I can't remember them from the life of me. But moving on from that, so we don't get hung on it too long. Who you got here? Warriors, Spurs. Who you got? How many games?
Warriors. I'm gonna go for 5.
I think it's Warriors in 6.
That's what I thought about going with, but I wasn't for sure.
You know, I think the Spurs may be able to steal a couple, but honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State all of a sudden clicks it and this is a sweep. But these are pretty exciting matchups here for the NBA playoffs, and something to to be watching out for. First game is Saturday at 3, and it is the Spurs-Warriors game. So you have some games on Saturday, some on Sunday. Be interesting to watch. You go Spurs-Warriors at 3, and then you end the night with the Pelicans-Trailblazers at 10:30. So I might catch a little bit of that game, but probably not a whole lot before I end up falling and drifting off to sleep. But hopefully you've enjoyed our long diatribe through the NBA regular season awards and the playoff matchups and a little bit of Wrestlemania there at the beginning. Try to give you a little bit of an extended edition since we only did one episode this week. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you missed that, just hop back to the beginning. But with that being said, I think, Rylee, that'll do it for another episode of the R&D Sports Report.